What is up, everybody? Welcome to the feast number 81 with new patch replays and the Vyeshal poetry contest results. I am Delthius. How's it going, guys? Of course, I've already noticed that I'm dropping a few frames. So if that persists after this first replay, I might have to pause the stream, reset my internet, and hopefully that'll fix it. But it's going to be a good show today. I've got a bunch of new replays lined up to cast, and joining us in about 20 minutes is AV Ultima and Kevin from Power Up Audio, and we are going to go over the Vyeshal poetry contest results. So, hyped for that, man. It's going to be a good show. I'm excited. Glad to be back casting. And I guess without any further ado, let's give doing a replay a shot. Luckily enough, if I am dropping frames, it shouldn't really affect the poetry stuff, because typically the audio is okay. It's just the video that that gets a little bit buggy. So we'll see how it goes, guys. Alright, let's hop into it. I figured we'd start off replays with a match from Illuminatus, who's the one who organized this entire thing. So let's see how he is on the battlefield. Match number 1. Replays first. Boo. Alright, to the right, we've got Illuminatus. And his opponent to the left, Big Pimpintosh. I'm not gonna make you sit through 2 hours of replays before the poetry contest. We're just gonna do 1 or 2. Let everybody come in. And then we'll get to it. But I'm really not happy with the dropping frames. Of course it happens when I'm trying to do like an event type thing, right? But we'll see. Hopefully it clears up. Pretty cool decks from both players here. We see the moles. Big Pimpintosh not running squirrels at all, instead opting for Toad Mole. And let's see if he can get away with it. I mean, Doohoo kind of kicked my ass earlier with just pure mole, so it might be a thing. You know, everybody wants Lizard to be that new core tier 1, but maybe the mole will be able to do it. We'll see. Big Pimpintosh here, maybe thinking about a mole rush, decides against it, and is going to come home and just farm up to 8 farms. Okay, so a little bit of barbed wire coming up. Nothing crazy thus far. And really, we're just waiting to see how the players want to approach the game. They could try to get out a quick tier 2, even go for a quick tier 3. But tier 1 warrants being thrown down for Eel at the moment, and we still haven't really seen the builds. There we go, Big Pimpintosh throwing down the Snake Warren. So he wants to go for that tier 2 quickly, which on this map, I think it's totally safe. In general, going for like an 8 farm tier 2 is normally kind of hard to punish, but Illuminatus does have these lizards, and the lizards can get over there and definitely deal some damage. But he doesn't know that Big Pimpintosh went for the fast tier 2, and these moles coming up the side, I don't think Eel knows it about him either. Let's see if he can scout him in time. He's already kind of getting his units in the right position, which is nice. But this could turn out pretty bad for Tosh, to be honest. Like, he could just lose, you know, a whole bunch of moles here, but Illuminatus is moving out. Oh my god, this could actually work out fairly well. Let's see. Ooh, he's trying to find a sneaky path to get by, but can't quite figure it out through that weird terrain up at the top, and just moves back for now. I'm worried about these moles, man. They're coming. Tosh is waiting in the shadows. He's got some dirty strategies here. Here we go. Tosh moving in with 6 moles. Illuminatus not aware. Illuminatus is actually at Tosh's base at the moment, knocking out this tier 2 Warren. But Tosh is doing quite a bit of damage. Actually only gets 2 farms. That could have been worse. Could have been 3 or 4. And Illuminatus is able to take out that tier 2 Warren, gets the snake, and gets a pig. So overall, I kind of like that better for Eel, to be honest. And Tosh is going to run home and build a couple mole warrants to try to stay safe. Is the frame rate bad? Let me know, guys. I think it doesn't look too terrible. So just keep me posted, please. All right, so we're gonna stabilize a little bit here as both players try to get up to tier 2 with a nice handful of tier 1. But again, I like Illuminatus' position better for several reasons here. I think he got more damage done overall than Tosh did for less food trade, and he's also got this tier 2. He's got his second base up and running. And he's going to go ahead and tech switch into a badger. Let's see if Tosh is able to scout that out, because Tosh does have snakes, he does have fox. I mean, those are both great answers to the badger. But in order to answer a badger, you have to be aware of the badger, right? And the fox warren goes down, which is a nice kind of blind response here for Tosh. And he's also getting a second base. And keep in mind that Eel never really rebuilt those farms back there, so he doesn't necessarily have an economic advantage. And I think that's a correct move to do as well. Like, there's no point in spending that money. Oh, hang on, hold that thought. As Tosh moves forward, trying to get some damage done with these snakes. Gonna back out for now. The long range of the squirrel is really helping out Illuminatus in that defense. But, I mean, it makes sense that Eel didn't rebuild these farms, because if you're going to spend the 60 food, you might as well do that on a nice fresh farm, you know what I mean? Not one that's already been mined out a little bit. Okay, so, I don't know, man. I'm starting to like Tosh's position more and more. Like, the fox typically does very nicely against the badger, especially with having the snakes as well. It'd be really cool to see, like, Mole Toad beat Squizzard in an up... Has some hiccups, but frame rate's okay overall. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. But the good news is it shouldn't affect the poetry thing at all. So that'll be nice. And we're going to get to that pretty shortly. I'll probably do like one more replay, and then we'll get Kevin and AV Ultima in here. And then if it's too bad after that, I might restart the stream, restart the internet. Okay, so... Badger's almost here, and the fox is right behind it. Illuminatus will have a little bit of a window where he can come in with the badger before the fox is on the board, but it's not going to be very long. Like, the fox is out. Really, it's not going to exist at all, right? Like, by the time the badger gets up to the front line, the fox will basically be spawned. And keep in mind that Eel does not have pigeons. And that's typically the combo we see with the badger to heal it up. But these snakes get a little bit too far forward. This is what I like lizards for, man. Lizards are great for chasing down, harassing tier 2. Gets a snake out of that. But the fox is here. There's a lot of barbed wire. There's a nice defensive position. Chameleons can definitely be good against the fox, but overall, well, really, Illuminatus has chameleons. He has lizards. Those are both good answers to the fox. No mines. The new mines do kill a fox in two hits, so that's pretty brutal for fox players. But it's fine. I'm just salty. Alright. Nice damage so far from Tosh. The chameleon's moving forward to try to catch it, but you really want 4 chameleons for this. As 4 chameleons will basically insta-kill the fox. And gotta be careful, man. These snakes, yeah, one of those chameleons goes down. So overall, nice harassment thus far from Tosh. And really what Eel needs to do is get up a balloon. Of course, that's easier said than done because his economy is very low. And just kind of try to build up to a critical mass and push in. And yeah, that's what he's going to do. He's going to try to get that second tier 2 Warren, to get those 4 chameleons I was talking about and get a lot of lizards. Chameleons and lizards are a pretty good answer to the fox, but overall, this fox is doing its job very nicely. This chameleon's gonna get a shot, but needs to be careful. The chameleon goes down. Yeah, nicely done there from Mr. Tosh. Yeah, I see the frame rate dropping a little bit. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Ooh, the fox died when I wasn't looking. Oh my god, how'd it die? Oh, the chameleons ended up getting it. Nicely done from Eel. Right when I checked to see if I'm still dropping frames, the fox goes down, of course. But nicely done from Eel, and he sold off his badger. And he's gonna just move in with a lot of tier 1 here in these chameleons. Let's see if he can overrun them. That's 9 toads, though, so he needs to be careful. He wants to maybe try to get those toads to blow up on the chameleons. They still traded pretty nicely, but that protects the big pack of lizards, and now Illuminatus is moving forward. Gonna see if he can deliver the killing blow to his opponent here. Tosh doesn't really have anything left. He didn't sell his fox warren, so he tried to invest in getting another one out, which it looks like the fox will hit the field here, but I don't know if it's too late. Well, actually, that might have been the right call because Tosh cleans this up. He does take some damage, but Illuminatus' economy is not amazing. And let's see, Tosh coming up with fox number 2, gonna try to get some damage in. Does he have enough to break them, though, is the question. These moles doing a good job tanking on the front line. These toads need to connect, but do not. The Fox staying alive for now. Illuminatus' economy's in the dumps. This is a really scrappy game, but maybe Tosh wins it? I don't know, man. If he loses the Fox, that might be too much. But at the same time, I mean, Eel's only on 1 farm, while Tosh is on 4, so like even if he did lose the Fox, he might just have enough numbers at this point. I'd probably sell off the Snake Warren. That looks like what he's gonna do there. And I like this Squizzard combo from Eel. He really needs to focus on defense at the moment, just kind of keeping the bare minimum of units to stay alive and try to get that economy up and running again. Chameleon coming out front, but you need more than 1 Chameleon. Man, these new Chameleons, though, maybe 2 is all you need, but he's lost several Chameleons trying to get this Fox down with only 1 of them, but it got really close, man. The Fox at 5 HP. With so many moles and toads. And what's really cool about this game is the mole toad, in my opinion. Those toads kind of over-detonate on that Chameleon. But these moles are doing such a good job being linemen here for this Fox. And I think that is going to be it. The Gristmill falls. Illuminatus has got nothing left. Oh, he's going to try the classic build a whole bunch of lizards and cross your fingers. Let's see if it works. And yeah, one thing that's nice about not taking those farms back earlier is that they are here now to prevent him from starving, but it's going to be rough for him to get out of this stranglehold that Tosh has. Like, he's basically got him contained at this point. He's moving in. I don't think he's going to get enough lizards together. Oh, no! He was hoping he could sneak through right there, but it looks like he can't. And moles move in, knock out the Gristmill, and Tosh takes the match. Really cool game. Okay, I'm still dropping frames. I'm sorry about that, guys. But there's not a lot I can do about it, unfortunately. Won't be a big deal though for the poetry stuff. I don't think, anyways. So let us do a quick free-for-all match here, and then we'll go over the poetry results. Okay, we've got a 3-way free-for-all on this night map. In the bottom right, we've got Chocobo Fan. To the left, we've got Frank Crack. And up top, we've got Camarada Oscar. Alright, pretty big map. Overall, it looks fairly balanced for free-for-all. I kind of like Red's position. He's got a lot of Gristmills around him. Oscar up here's got access to a natural base, but expanding past that might be difficult. However, he does have a little bit of an advantage on being on the high ground. And Frank over here looks fine. Like, he's got a nice natural expansion. He's got a 3rd base over here. Free-for-alls are really interesting. I think somebody once said it best in free-for-all. Do you want to have fun or do you want to win, right? Like, because typically, you know, if blue and green are attacking each other and trying to kill one another and red's left alone, then red on paper should eventually win that because he's just got, you know, so much more stuff because he hasn't been trading all game long. But it's a lot more fun to attack your opponent than to sit around doing nothing. So competitively, I feel like free-for-all can end up in a stalemate position. But we'll see what happens this match. So far, no big, crazy decision-making has been done yet. Every player kind of opting for that 8-farm, double tier 1. Looks like Frank wants to get a quick Gristmill up and running. He's doing something, man. He's going to rally these scrolls over. Maybe he's thinking about finding an angle to get over here onto red and attack. Red's already taken an expansion. Tier 2 coming down for Frank. Going to get that ferret going. And yeah, let's see where they go from here. So it looks like Oscar hasn't really made any big decisions yet. He's just kind of building up that tier 1 for the moment. Yeah, it looks like Frank wants to take a tier 2 and expand, so that's a little bit risky. You can kind of get ran over if your opponent sniffs that out. You know, imagine if Chocobo just builds like more and more squirrels and pushes in. It really also depends on how many farms that blue decides to go for. Expansion coming down for our green player as well. Free-for-alls are 2v1s in disguise. I like it. I like it, Rabin. Man, Chocobo fan going hard on the eco, almost up to full second base saturation. And meanwhile, Frank's just kind of taking it mid-rangey, you know, grabbing a couple farms, getting a couple units, getting that tier 2 on board, and kind of the same boat over here for Oscar. But we've got a lot of tier 3 in these decks. Owl Badger, Owl Boar. Owl Boar, that's kind of interesting. I wonder, you know, maybe the boar can, if your opponent has owls too, kind of deal with those mice. And let's see, Chocobo. Oh, is he just going to go for a big flock of falcons? Is that the move to make? I don't know, man. He's getting up here in the sneaky area. Oh, I thought he might have been saving up for a tier 3. That's like the perfect spot to put a tier 3. You know what I'm saying? Oh, he's thinking about it. Is he saving money? Hopper. Oh, you're teasing me. Lots of falcons on the way. And here we go. Boar coming down for our blue player. And we'll do a little bit of fast forward and get to some action here as everybody's just kind of building up at the moment. Overall, I like Red's position the best, I suppose, just because he's got that big economy going, and Falcons scale really, really nicely. They're actually Jet Eric's favorite unit, is the Falcon. He thinks they're perfectly balanced, and he loves the way that they interact in the game. So, let us see. Let us see who wants to move out first. See, this is what's rough about free-for-all, man. You're not really incentivized to attack a lot of the times, right? Because you don't want to be the guy trading while the third player just kind of sits back and gets big. All right, here we go. Speaking of attacks, green is moving out, but this is not an army that I think is going to do well for him here. Chocobo with 8 falcons should kind of crush through this. The ferrets aren't going to do a whole lot for him. Ooh, I'm a little bit worried. Ah, but blue's kind of moving in too. Are they both going to kind of pincer attack red at the same time? The Uncle Butters here is nice, but you know, red's predominantly got an air army at the moment. Badger on the way as well for Chocobo fan, but blue is getting the upper hand on the economy. Well, no, he's not. Actually, this base is already up and running for red. Here we go. Red's moving forward. Is blue going to join the fun? It looks like it. Triple battle incoming here. Ooh, green trying to push forward with a forward gristmill. I wonder if he might want to try to throw down some defense or something like that, but red is not going to sit around and let those shenanigans happen. He's moving forward, pushing green back. And blue just doesn't have a big army here, but that Uncle Butters against a ton of falcons is not going to work out very well. He goes down, and Chocobo's holding strong with his air army here. Green decided to go back for the time being, maybe wait for his owl to hit the board. But green can't really get a third base at the moment. He can try to take this one, which would be nice, but it's pretty close to blue. All right, owl's starting to hit the board here. More and more ferrets coming up for green. Let's see it, man. Yeah, there's that third base from green. It's a rough spot to take a third base, but he's kind of has to do it, to be honest. And the longer this game goes, the better it's looking for Chocobo fan. I mean, he's the only one who's really got clear access to the 4th and 5th base, but granted, it's not going to be easy to take those bases right there because, you know, they're very contestable from green and blue. Plus, green's got all those ferrets. He's got 6 ferrets, man. Not exactly the unit he needs against all the falcons, but 6 ferrets will really wreck down on some stuff pretty quickly. One badger already here for Chocobo fan. Chocobo fan, man, trying to get this ultimate in-game army. So many falcons, badgers, and owls on the way as well. Owl moving forward, but it's gonna get bopped very, very quickly from all these falcons. Blue's moving over to try to join the fun, but so many falcons in the air for Chocobo. They're starting to get weakened. That's still so much damage, man. Chocobo's gonna push back both armies one by one. looking pretty good for Hopper here. Might be overextending though. Can't lose these Falcons. The Falcons do a lot of damage, but they're very squishy. So yeah, a little bit of an overreach here from Red. Loses quite a few Falcons there. Gonna have to sell off some Warrens and just kind of produce what he can. Alright, Blue trying to push forward. What's Green been up to? Green actually did manage to get that base up and running. Building more and more ferrets here. But Chocobo is keeping the pressure on Blue. Really not wanting to let him get out of hand. But Green is coming in from the back. But again, you know, Green's army is predominantly ferrets here when we've got this big air war going on. So that's not going to work out very good for him. Pushes back. Green's not really suffering heavy losses, though, for the most part. Right as they say that, look at that army graph where it spiked down for him. Listen, I kind of know what I'm talking about, okay? Alright, so we'll move forward a little bit here. Okay, Red pushing in. Annihilating the army for Blue. Green's gonna try to catch him on the back, but again, the Owls, the Ferrets, not gonna do well against these Falcons. Really, Green's only got like 6 Squirrels and 2 Falcons to deal with this. Dude, so many Falcons. Really, the correct response to that is like a lot of Squirrels or Lizards if you don't have Falcons of your own. I wouldn't even try to do something like Badger. I mean, Fox is nice if you have the room to micro, because the Fox will one-shot the Falcons, but the Falcons could pretty easily get up on the Fox, since the Falcons can just fly over the terrain, right? You know, if the Fox had to, like, run past those bushes, for example. And it looks like this is too much damage onto Frank, and he's gonna go down. Is Green gonna take advantage of Red not being at his base, though, and try to do the counterattack? It looks like he is. However, now that Blue's knocked out, Red can just focus his attention right onto the third of Green, but no, he's gonna come back, try to prevent Green from doing any damage. Gonna come in, immediately get this tier 3 Warren. But that's so many Falcons, man. Green just doesn't have the composition to deal with this. And I think Chocobo Fan is just gonna run away with the game from here. Well played. Falcons in the air. Just don't care. Gonna win this free-for-all. Smartly just gonna go ahead and target down these Gristmills. That's the win condition and knock your opponent out of the game. Not really worrying too much about their Warrens since Green doesn't really have an army anymore. And that should be it. Okay. Alright. I know what you all want. I know what you're here for. You're not here to listen to me cast replays. You're here for this. The Vyeshal Poetry Contest. Look at that beautiful art, man. Let's see if we can get people on the line. Definitely let me know how the levels are. We didn't really get a great chance to test that before the show began. Alright, let me make some calls here. Mr. AV. Mr. Kevin. Oh, what? Can I not? Oh, geez.
Hello.
Kevin, how's it going, man?
How's that sounding?
Sounds beautiful to me. I need to get AV in here, but I think if I hit call, I'm going to end the call with you. I should probably know how to do this better. So, Kevin, you are the co-founder of Power Up Audio, right?
Yeah.
How did you get into the industry? Are you a musician, or?
Right. So my co-founder, Jeff Tangsock, and myself used to work at another audio studio. and it was kind of very factory oriented, like get your stuff done and move on and never look back, and like don't love your work and all this stuff,
Right.
And so we left that, did our own thing with Power Up Audio, and that's why we were able to do things like put a crazy language into a game, because Andy Schatz is like, sure, why not? Prior to that, yeah, I kind of played music my whole life, like piano and trumpet, and went to school for music composition in college, and then took an audio engineering course, and then kind of fell in love with like audio for video, like post-production, and then realized that I'd been playing games my whole life, so why not work in games, marry those things.
That's awesome. Hopefully I don't just hang up on you. Let me try to get AV in here. Huh? Oh my god, this is terrible. Okay. Let me invite you to a server real quick. Sorry about this. I think I know the solution.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so take that Discord server invite and join that voice channel. All right. I think we're good now. Sorry about that, guys. I thought I'd just be able to create a call at Discord with 3 people in it, and I guess not.
Okay, this is working though, right? I'm good to go?
Yes. AV, are you there, my man?
Yes, I am here.
So, I love a lot of the games that Power Up Audio has done, man. Into the Breach, Darkest Dungeon, Crypt of the Necrodancer, obviously Tooth and Tail. There's a lot of great titles here. I'm really hyped you guys are working on Tunic, man. I got to play that at TwitchCon 2017 a little bit, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's been coming along. We're showing it. We've been showing it all over. I mean, it's been kind of the same build for a long time. Like if you play, I think we've made a bit of progress since the TwitchCon build in 2017, but yeah, it's mostly like the demo exists and it's doing its job, and it's like one guy doing the majority of the game. Like if you mute the game, it's one guy. It's crazy.
Damn. It's crazy.
And he's like, either he puts more time into fleshing out demos, or he just makes the damn game. So he's kind of opting to do the latter.
Right.
But it's coming along. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and Darkest Dungeon, man, I feel like that's one of the games that the sound and the music really defines it. I mean, that's not a game you want to like mute and watch Netflix while you play it. You know what I mean? Like you want to turn the lights off, crank up the sound, and it's really immersive, man. I've always thought that was really impressive about that title.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's a very streaming friendly kind of game because of the roller coastery kind of aspect of the gameplay. Like your emotions are toyed with a lot as a player.
Right.
And people, they can like name their characters. There's like a lot of reason that Twitch loves Darkest Dungeon, and it's definitely very very heartwarming to like hear the audio cranked up in a stream. And they're not listening to like the Linkin Park or Avril Lavigne or whatever. They're like listening the actual game soundtracks. It's a nice change, especially when people have been playing it for like hundreds of hours, and they still want to hear the soundtrack. It's nice.
Okay, before we get started, I gotta put you on the spot, man, and ask you 2 questions. First question is, besides things that Power Up Audio has worked on, what's your favorite video game soundtrack or album? And then second question is, what's your favorite just band in general?
Okay, so my favorite video game soundtrack has been and will likely forever remain Total Annihilation by Jeremy Soule.
Nice.
There's a lot of good options, obviously. There's so much good game music out there. Like, we're doing good work, but like, holy crap, there's a lot of talent out there in the industry right now, and there has been for some time, and even in the past or whatever, right? But Total Annihilation, holy crap. Jeremy Soule, if you don't know him, he also did like Oblivion and Skyrim, and his portfolio is just dumb. Like he's worked on so many amazing things, and he wrote the soundtrack for Total Annihilation when he was like 21 or something.
Jeez. And
it's just extremely good. I can still just put it on and listen to the full half. It's only a half hour long, but it's amazing. And then the second question was band.
Yeah.
Right. So the music I tend to follow, I keep up to date with, is drum and bass. It's like drum and bass is kind of my genre of choice. And my mainstay there, my favorite band is probably, or producer, whatever you want to call it when it's electronic, is Camo and Crooked. They're they're a duo from Austria, and they're doing stuff. They're the kind of thing where I'll hear a new track that I've never heard before, and I'll know it's them. Like they just have this sound that's really their own, and it's pretty hard to do in electronic music in general.
Right.
Where kind of like you're kind of limited. Like here is like you have like the or whatever,
right.
Or like with the D&B, it's like that's gonna be like, here you go, here's your framework, and now make it your own. It's super hard, and they nail every time. So
dude, I'm a drummer.
Yeah, I've seen them in
D&B is like super impressive to me, man. I listen to some D&B when I'm playing like StarCraft because it's just high tempo and energy. I like Spy a lot, Rini Lavis. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
yeah, sure. Spy's awesome.
Cool. Mr. Ultima, let me get you in this conversation, sir.
Hey, what's up? I'm here.
So how do you guys want to do the Vyeshal poetry contest? You want to talk a little bit about that, AV, since you were one of the judges?
Sure. I guess for everyone who wasn't familiar, the last few weeks we gathered poems from across the Discord, and we had 6 submissions. And it was both in English and Vyeshal, and people translated them. And we've been judging them the last few weeks, and we finally got a chance to talk about them here on stream. And to anyone who participated in the contest, we are giving out WHIP, and they can pick from a list of Steam keys, which I assume will be provided by Shoof, and Eel will be handing out these prizes.
So, Kevin, are you the creator of the language?
Yeah. So basically, I guess I can talk a little about that.
Absolutely, man. Bring it on.
So first, I'll make a small correction. So it's pronounced Vyeshal.
Yep.
Vyeshal. It's a great example of this thing I love doing in game development, and we call it a content for no one. So whenever, like, especially independent teams where it's like, one person, they're like, up to 40 people, like smaller teams, not massive armies of like Rockstar or whatever, right? When you have small teams, you kind of need to pick and choose your tasks carefully and make sure that you don't end up making this game for like 15 years, right? And so for stuff like this, where you're like, let's make a language that no one might ever care about, and it's not written anywhere, and it's only audio in the game, and it's like a riddle, but people would need to like look for consistencies across different delivered voiceover lines and figure like it's so ridiculous. And when you're doing stuff like that, where like less than 1% of your player base will ever care, you need to be okay. Like before you even start doing it, you need to be okay with the possibility that no one will ever acknowledge you did it.
It's like you're putting in all this hard work, and then guys like me are gonna look at it and be like, "Oh, that's just gibberish, right?" It's like, no, there's actually foundation to it.
Exactly. I mean, the thing is, so back, during development, before we even chose to do this thing, talking to Shots, and just the idea of trying to convey that this world is like this drunken, messy civil war, and there's like this crowd just, like stampeding towards the front lines, and it's so from an audio perspective, we had to try to figure out how to satisfy that checkbox, like that idea of like, well, how do you make it sound crowded and crazy and messy and so forth. And so we had all these units, and we're like, well, do they have voice? Like, they make the sound of their guns and stuff as part of it, but I mean, do they like, what do they sound like? And we didn't want to have it in English for a variety of reasons. Like, kind of it grabs your ear in a way that we don't want. It's much more relevant and productive just to like convey a feeling. So you're like, hey, go over there, squirrel, and he's like, got it. Like, we don't need to say the word like, you got it, sir. Like, we don't need to say that. They can just say anything, and the player will be like, okay, cool. They just like confirmed that order, Or if it's a battle cry, it's like obviously a battle cry. Or if they're doing a death cry, it's like they're obviously dying, So the context was like way more important. And I kind of pitched this idea, like we didn't want it to be like too Russian, because yeah, again, it's not Russia, you know,
Right.
but something that sounds kind of Slavic made sense for the tone of the game. So yeah, just like I did a bunch of work on my own to kind of prototype this language. And this is like the one in game is like version 12 or something of the language. It got a lot of iteration.
Jeez.
And just pitched it to Andy and was like, hey, here it is. Here's some lines read. And he was like, this is pretty sick. It just sounds like you said, it sounds like gibberish to most players. They'll be like, what? I'll like watch some stream and they'll like repeat back what Hopper said. And they won't get it quite right, but they're like, it's cool. They still kind of latch onto that line, even though they don't know what it means, or even know that it means anything, you know?
Right.
So it's worked out pretty well, and frankly, I'm pretty blown away that this poetry contest is even happening. It's like not just that anyone figured out the language at all, but just that they are now, you know, kind of claiming it for their own is pretty sick. It's awesome. So thanks a lot, everyone.
So AV, you're one of the guys that pioneered kind of decoding this, aren't you?
Yeah, that's correct. One of the first few people who said, hey, you know what? Some of these sounds actually sound like a language. So let's actually get a group of people together and figure this thing out.
All right.
And it was a whole lot of fun the first few weeks of decoding everything and figuring everything out. It was quite the puzzle, and I appreciate Kevin for putting so much time into it. And it's actually kind of funny. He spent many months on it, and then in just like a week or so, we were completely decoding the entire thing, which was quite funny when he came in and saw the amazing work we put in.
That's awesome.
Right. There was one morning I woke up and went on Discord. I don't recall if it was you, AV, or if it was Shoe Fly Pie. But someone posted like this long message. It was like, all right, I didn't sleep last night, and I think I got it figured out, guys. And I went through like it was this long like essay of a message, and he just like surgically just nailed it. Like it was all accurate. There's like these kind of like edge cases where like if you have this letter after this letter or this sound after this sound, then like we need to add a throwaway garbage letter and stuff. And like they just totally nailed it. I was like, yeah, this is how it works in this condition. I'm like, what the? How do they get this so fast?
That sounds like something Shoof would send you. They're probably Shoof.
It's ridiculous, man.
All right,
Anyway, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I gotta make sure I'm saying this right for my nerd street credit. It's Vyeshal. Is that close?
It is. So all like the Y-E, like whenever you see a Y in the language, it's always pronounced like yeah, like the consonant, you know,
okay.
not like a vowel in English.
Gotcha.
So with this, yeah, it's not like in Russian, you learn vowels by like learning like o and yo. So like bo, bio, be, bie, that kind of thing, you know.
Okay.
So with this, it's vie, yeah. And also in Vyeshal, the second syllable is always the emphasis. So it's Vyeshal. And that translates to mother.
Vyeshal. See, I'm a Southern Florida boy, so I look at it and I'm like, that's Vyeshal. All right, guys.
That's close.
So, I want to talk. I guess let's look at the first entry here. So these are kind of in order. Eels in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think this is one of the top 3. I think this was a special mention here. So, I mean, how do you guys want to do it? Kevin, do you want to just read them or swap off with AV? I can't. I'm not even going to embarrass myself here.
I think the plan was to just read the first and then talk about the others just rather quickly.
Oh, you
yeah,
mean,
sure. I'm down.
Read the first place one?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
After, I guess, going through a few thoughts of the first 5.
Okay, you take the mantle here, AV.
Yeah, sure. So for poem 1, which is the General's Last Thoughts, we, it was, in terms of language, a bit hard to get through, because if you're looking at it now, for those that like skimming through the language, you can tell that there are quite a few, I guess, spelling mistakes. And there's actually a couple instances where words are spelled differently throughout, which is odd. And we did sort of give some of these poems the benefit of the doubt, thinking, okay, maybe they sort of skewed the language in their own way. But I think this one just had quite a few too many mistakes to give that benefit. But in terms of topic, it's quite good. And I do enjoy that they did try to get some very unique rhymes on each line. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to
wasn't
rhyme
too
in
bad.
Vyeshal while making sense grammatically in English is probably pretty difficult.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. We noticed with a lot of these poems, a lot of the people, I guess, started in English and then just straight up translated it to Vyeshal, which really threw off the rhythm if it sounded well in English.
Right.
So we gave a lot of points to those that it both sounded good in English and in Vyeshal.
Yeah, one thing I'll just sort of interject with. I know that at least one person on this call is not fluent in Vyeshal. So how the cipher works, like it's not like a letter substitution kind of language. It's more of it's like a phonetic substitution language. So you take, for example, like that very first word I, in the general's last thoughts, correctly translates to yo. So like I, that diphthong translates to yo. So whenever you have a word like night, for example, N doesn't change, T doesn't change, but the I in the middle of the word night changes to yo. So night would translate to nyot. So all of these things here, and there's also, when I mentioned that it went through so many iterations, like the language in developing it, it's because I just was stress testing the rules I'd set up, like, hey, when this, then this, when that, then that, right? And I'd stress test it by just translating like paragraphs of some novel. I just go crazy, just translate and translate and translate. And then eventually I'd hit some weird word where the letters in the word just come together in a way that I had not predicted. And I was like, wow, this is complete garbage when it gets to like goes to the meat grinder of Vyeshal. And I have to like put in some, like I mentioned, those edge case rules. So for example, the word lost, the next one, they translate it to lostie, and that's like that's pretty liberal as far as how that word should be translated. So L and R both translate to L, and then the S and T also don't change. So they got that right. As far as the vowel goes, it's a bit tricky because I'm basing it off of like my Canadian pronunciation of words, you know? So lost, if you said lost, if that's how you pronounce the word lost, if you said lost, then lost would be correct. But I don't know, like I lost the war, it's kind of weird. So I lost to yo, like aw changes to ya, so it'd be like liost, but liost feels gross, so instead we just add an O and make it loyost instead. And also, one thing I didn't mention yet is that I've totally neglected the challenge of making this readable for voice actors. Because like we're bringing in, like 20 people to read this stuff, and I can't just throw them. I mean, you all can see the language on the left. Like if I threw that at a voice actor, it'd be like, I'll do my best,
Right, for sure.
And the fact that this was a puzzle and we needed like phonetic consistency across different actors meant that I'm like, directing the session, and they'd say something like, like Delthius with like Vyeshal, and I'm like, no, it's not Vyeshal, it's Vyeshal, and we had to say it right, because if I had any hope, or if I was looking to give our players any hope of solving this thing, they had to have like relatively controlled source material to work off of, right?
Oh man,
so they
go ahead. Sorry.
Yep. I was just gonna say that I've been informed of a bunch of typos in the game's script, which is like, come on, guys, like give me a break. I'm translating 2,000 lines of dialogue.
Right.
And yeah, they're totally right. Like there's definitely typos. Like there's 2 or 3 in the whole script I know of. And oh well. But anyways,
I don't know why that just clicked for me, but that's actually a really huge point, right? Because if the voice actors aren't doing it exactly right, how are nerds like AV Ultima and Shoofly like gonna do this? Because you're going just off the audio for the Vyeshal part, you know what I mean? And then you see the English lines in the game, so it's incredibly important that they pronounce that correctly.
Yeah, there's it. So the language isn't really written in the game anywhere except for one spot. And do you guys even know about that yet? There's like
Yeah, I believe it's actually 2 spots. I think I mentioned this to you a couple months ago just to confirm, and I think it's Quartermaster referring to Hopper in her Vyeshal name is one of them.
No, that's not what I'm referring to. Like, I guess
Oh.
that's kind of part of it, yeah, but that's not what I'm referring to.
Oh, then I don't know.
Because yeah, they do like pronounce the letters in the language, kind of, like Cat Osial, for example. But like, I might as well should I just spoil it?
The game's been out for over a year. I think we can have a spoiling if you want. It's up to you.
Yeah. So basically, in the Quartermaster's hub, like in the campaign mode, right? Like where all the missions stem from.
Yep.
If you go to the very top right room with all the telecommunications and stuff, you can hear a Morse code signal coming from one of the machines, and that you can actually translate that Morse code, and there's like a bunch of different messages that are just like different messages from the team. So it's really it's kind of silly.
Did you miss that Easter egg, AV?
Oh yeah, I don't think anyone got that.
I think
so that's Morse code and then Vyeshal and then that's man.
Yeah, so that's the only place in the game where the language is actually spelled, but it's in Morse code, so it's still another step yet.
That's amazing.
Anyway, yeah, get on it, players.
Yeah, I think everybody's logging onto the campaign right now and getting out their notepads, man.
I don't even recall what the things say, to be honest. It's just like stupid jokes and stuff, but I don't know. Figure it out.
Okay, so AV, do we want to go to the next poem, or what do you want to do?
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's jump to it.
Okay.
I'm just gonna grab the water.
Sure.
So, I'm stepping away for a second.
Okay.
Next poem is by, forgive me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, Ruben Lead. And there was no title sent for this one, so I think we just used the first line of it. So it was called Searching for Glory. And there was only a few spelling mistakes in this one, but didn't take too much points off for this one. Followed a traditional rhythm and rhyming structure, and this one was quite good. Topic. So we had 4 rating styles, and it was topic, meaning, language, and style. And this one scored very well in terms of topic and meaning. And the style was pretty standard, but yeah, this one did very well.
I like it. So yeah. in Vyeshal, it seems like certain words are kind of translated by messing around with the vowels, as Kevin was talking about, and then other words are just totally different. Is that correct? Or, for example, like Vyeshal and mother, or is there actually still that vowel pattern to those words as well?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, like earlier, Kevin was talking about how you could translate like night, by changing the I to the correct Vyeshal letters and kind of keeping the consonants together. But I've noticed like other words like farewell, for example, or mother or civilized here, like they just look completely different. So maybe that's, well, learn Vyeshal then, Delthius, but like I guess there's got to be rules for changing up the consonants and certain I before E type things.
Yeah, I guess Kevin would be able to answer that better, but yeah, some of the consonants do stay the same, like in stays the same, T stays the same, but as you can see in Civilized, the M changes to V. And I imagine just throughout, iterating through the language, they learn that, some consonants can stay the same because the words sound fine, and then others don't, for whatever reason.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm back, by the way.
Howdy.
Nice.
I was letting AV answer that question because I was curious what the answer would be. Yeah, so you're totally right, Delthius. So I mean, you got like some letters would just stay the same and some would not. And the thing is, so I mentioned all the iteration of trying to figure out like how to form this meat grinder to put the English through and get Vyeshal out. And some versions just failed miserably, and it seemed like it was like a foundation, like a fundamental problem with how I was doing the cipher. And so it was a lot of like humming and hawing and like being in the shower, like, oh, eureka, I figured something out, and just figuring it out. But like just like, you know, figuring out like when you're not even thinking about it. But for example, like you mentioned farewell. So that F, I want to be clear too, it's not about changing like the letter, it's about changing the sound. So it's not we're changing F, we're changing like the sound of F is what we're changing.
Right.
So we're changing the F to a instead. So F changes to H and vice versa as well. If there's any H in this poem, we can see that, but I don't know.
So you would probably translate like PH the same way as F, for example. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Exactly, yeah. So I think AV said civilized, for example. Like civilized, the C in civilized isn't like a C, it's just the S sound, right?
Right, which would be different than a cat C or something.
Yeah, and so cat, excuse me. So cat, like the K and T both stay the same. I left some things the same just to, to make the puzzle a bit easier, but also to to make some words sound like real words in the game. Like for example, the word town, T, ow, and N all stay the same. So the word town in English is town in Vyeshal. And so you'd have these kind of little pepperings of what seemed to be real words in the game. And that was kind of left as like breadcrumbs of sorts to be like, yeah, this means something. You know?
That kind of stood out to me with Hopper, and when she says snacks, she says sneaks. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Got it. Yeah, that's a great example. Yes, like farewell here, like the F sound becomes H, A actually becomes yeah, so that should be like yal. And then R is L. W becomes like kind of the VW you hear in like bad Russian accents when like they order a water, it's like water, you know?
Right.
So yeah, a W becomes a VW, and then L E becomes the E becomes O, that's correct, and then L becomes L. So Hoyevwol is how they spelt it. That'd be like farewell, like an E. It's kind of it's close. But
nice.
Yeah, overall, it's definitely very open to interpretation. Like dialects exist in the world, so I mean, it kind of makes sense that maybe some people would say things a bit differently. And I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but Hopper actually speaks in a dialect of Vyeshal. It actually isn't the same translation. It's like I put it into Vyeshal and then also like applied a dialect to it, so she says things a bit differently than the rest of the characters.
You can kind of see that in her English translation too. She's got a little bit of that lower class kind of accent to her, you know?
Yeah, it's similar to saying something like, I mean, when you look at dialects, like a quote-unquote lower class dialect is often characterized by saying things in a way that's like easier and simpler. So something like going to versus gonna.
Right.
Like gonna is just easy, it's less effort, and that's kind of just a bit of a symptom of kind of a dialect like that style. So yeah, I did the same thing. I'm not sure offhand. I can't give an example, but like there's a lot of like equivalent examples of like going to versus gonna in her dialect.
That's awesome. All right, AV, are we ready for third place?
Wait. Oh, you might have skipped one. Vindication.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, you're right. Vindication coming up next.
So I can see for Vindication, that one sort of stepped outside the rules a little bit. It's a couple lines too long, so we had to unfortunately take off some points for that. You got to follow those directions. But yeah, this one, if you did read through the English, its topic is actually set around the colors of each faction. And each faction color gets sort of its own topic in a few of the lines. And we notice in this particular Vyeshal poem, there's a lot of, like, I guess, language knowledge being thrown around. This guy definitely wanted to flex what they learned, and they did it quite well. Only several spelling mistakes in it, but they didn't do too bad at all. Scored a bit higher than the rest. but now we're getting into the actual first, third, and second place one. If you're ready for that.
I'm ready when you are, man. Let's get to
Okay.
third place.
Oh,
Cool,
heck
let's
yeah.
jump.
Let's go.
Let's jump in the third here. Actually, okay. I was just making sure that we were probably just going to read this first one, and that's right. Okay. Yeah. Third poem also didn't have a title by Chris Hansen, but it is we said we used the first line, so it's with one fine shout. This one is, I had a feeling it's a topic dealing with the final mission because it talks about the mill toppling down, and then we've won all renown, and then but the pigs are coming. So it's sort of, we've won, we're the final faction left, and then but the pigs are coming to take down their only mill. So in terms of topic, it was really good. It's short and sweet, follows a very good rhythm, even though it got translated to Vyeshal. And it rhymes quite nicely.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, the cool thing about the way this language works is that if it rhymes in English, it'll rhyme in Vyeshal. It's all phonetic ciphers, right?
That's awesome. Yeah, it looks good, man. I like the poem.
Yeah, Austin Wintry, the composer of Tooth and Tail, actually did some lyrical writing, and then sent those lyrics to me, and I sent those lyrics back to him in Vyeshal, like my recording, saying how to pronounce it. So then he went and recorded with tripod. So all the the kind of battle cries when you begin a mission and stuff, and they say the slogan of the given faction. That was all kind of working together to to make the language and the music as one. It's pretty cool.
When he was, I guess, composing these songs, did he have any knowledge of the language beforehand so he could sort of work around that, or did you have to do all that?
So it was kind of a bit of a collaborative effort. So I mean, it's all Andy's like brainchild, right? So he had the idea of it's like the faction, and they're all about, like Hopper's faction being the common folk, and like the quartermaster, and like everyone has their own motivations and stuff. So he kind of wrote the idea behind what these slogans should be, and then Austin worked with him, I think, to kind of craft those a bit more, and then and then I kind of translated them into the language. But for there's like some album that came out, I can't recall what it's called, but some different the guys at Hyperduck, I think it was Hyperduck Soundworks, they did a track that's all like in the language of the game, and it's pretty good.
Awesome.
They go a bit in the language sometimes, but overall it's pretty cool. It definitely captures the spirit of the game. So it's it's definitely, it was a very collaborative effort. Austin knew full well that there was meaning to the language. He knew that this is a tool at his disposal. So we had a lot of fun back and forth there.
Awesome. Is the album you're speaking of Who Becomes the Meat, or is that just a specific song that I'm thinking of?
That's the song I'm thinking of. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, I noticed. I think it came with a translation, or Shuv translated it. I don't remember, but I do remember that sort of what these poem writers did, they had to sort of remove some words or add in syllables to sort of keep the rhythm of the song going. And I assume that was something you took care of whenever you were sent lyrics to something. You would remove some words to make it sound just as good in Vyeshal as it was in English.
Yeah, because there's no determiners in Vyeshal. There's no there's no a. So that's shown in here. So for example, that third line of the second stanza there's but the pigs are coming. So yeah, pied bediege, that's but pigs. There's no but the.
Oh, interesting.
So
yeah, but pigs are coming.
Yep.
So that's kind of a good indication that Chris Hansen of Dateline ABC knows how to speak.
Why don't you have a seat right over there?
All right, cool. Let's jump into second place. That translates to Remains by, I have no idea how to say his name. Jamais, I guess. Oh, Young Loke wrote this one. Cool. And we actually should have had a discussion about which poem to give second and third place, but we decided to go with this one because it sort of changed up how the rest of them were. As you can, it doesn't follow the usual rhythm and rhyme structure. It's sort of more as a sort of spoken as a I guess, journal piece from someone on the battle lines talking about what they've experienced, and it has a ton of ethos to it, so we just had to give it second place. Very well done in terms of topic. Of course, has very nice style to it, and it was different compared to the rest. We enjoyed that one. And now on to first place, which, man, like I could tell immediately just from its first read and just from looking at it that it was quite amazing. It is a Snickery Lament by Pargan Intensifies. It's quite good in a lot of ways. It has by far the best rhythm to it because each line is 8 syllables when translated to Vyeshal. And they took the time to go in and, I guess, rework the language to sort of work in that way. If, for example, if you take a look at line 3, normally you would put an O between the BL and Blas because the BL sort of sounds really awkward to say, and the LY as well, or Bloyas. I mean, Bloyas. But that would add in another syllable, so it would become 9. So he decided to remove that to keep it 8 syllables. And then a sort of another liberty taken in the second from the last line. Kevin mentioned that there's no the when translating, but this person decided to add in the in a bit of a cheeky way to say, hey, you see what I'm doing here? I'm adding in the. And I sort of gave it points for that. I know it's not correct, but I found it very cheeky and funny that they decided to add in that anyway to sort of keep that same 8 syllable structure. And you could tell that they knew how the language worked, and it was quite good. Very proud of this one.
Yeah, it's super cool. There's definitely some. I mean, it's the blow yes thing. I saw it instantly, and I was like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. Like it was too. It seemed like his aptitude was enough that they should know this is blow yes. I was like, oh, okay, they do know. My bad. Yeah, it's funny. Like actually, the word that was an active. There was definitely some active decision making to avoid some words like translating into swears. And there's like a Russian swear that if you applied the rules of what he did for place there and instead translate the word plate, then you would have a Russian swear. So that's why
Nice.
Yeah, and just like the word, that's why we also don't have the word that in the language. It's always this. It's always this. Anyways, yeah, so this is killer. Nice work.
All right, Kevin, would you do us the honor of reading it correctly in Vyeshal?
I can do my best, I guess. All right, so is Pargan here, by the way? Are they chilling in the chat?
I'm not sure.
If so, then kick ass. This is so cool, and thanks a lot for writing such an awesome poem. This is rad. Okay, so shall we? So first place from Pargan Intensifies. This is Snekulu Loyevont. Futolj vushes, shiafim ti gyo. Niot vil blias ti isk fevoyo. Et niot vil blias ti viak ink vost. Hiel vuna potal, vuna post. Shes yotol vil sol hia ujniot. Yentel yo haldot ya hiel siot. Voyet vuval shes pliagugia. Yemiabus vushieli voya. Ful yo vulb, yevung shes yevok. Yal pekyoj. Sias viola, siebok.
Nicely done.
Wow, that was I enjoyed that.
That was good. I got the nerd chills, man. I'm gonna have to clip that, and if Pargon isn't here, we'll make sure to get it over to him. So you were talking a little bit about them taking liberties, I think, just to make the syllables line up, but overall, I mean, do you think they did a pretty good job translating this one, Kevin?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I I put that not drunken. Sorry, I didn't do it.
Oh my god. Did you do the squirrel voice?
Yeah, man, it's pitched up, mind you, so I can't just do it naturally. But
Right.
it's
that
that was
was like exactly correct.
yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's pretty good, man. I actually I rewrote the whole poem on another page to like make sure I knew what words to hit. But yeah, it's super good. There's a lot of spots where, yeah, they kind of took a little liberty with there was one like yem ye boost, for example, that's of peace. So yem ye boost. There's no reason to put a yeah on the end of that first word. That often happens with I'm trying to think of a word. Oh, like friend. So friend, for example, is a great example of a word that we add a lot of like throwaway syllables to, just for the purposes of having a more interesting sounding word, and B, making it easier to pronounce for a voice actor. Those are the main reasons we added these throwaway syllables.
Right.
So friend, if you were to translate friend, it goes to hielongia. It's like a much longer word. And so, AV killed it in the chat right there. Nice. So, hielongia. So F goes to the H. The yeah kind of comes from nowhere, but just fr, like FR, becomes HL. And like, while you can say like hl, that's a thing you can do, it never happens in English. So to ask a voice actor to come in cold and pronounce like hlong, which would be the direct translation, hlong is definitely a word that you can say, but I can't realistically and reasonably expect to get a good performance out of 20 voice actors with a weird sounding language, right?
Right.
So instead, we just gotta add like hye. It's like hyelon is way easier to say than hlon. And with the G at the end, adding a syllable like that, it kind of prevents voice actors from being tempted to say like hlong, like an NG. So like HLONG is what it would be. So hlong, like the word long, right? But instead, what we want is like the N and G pronounced separately, like hyelonng, like ng kind of thing, right?
Right.
And so to push that, give them a yeah on the end. So hyelonng. That's way easier to like process and pronounce as like 3 separate syllables than trying to say hlong and get all the sounds in there. It's super hard. So yeah, so back to the throwaway thing, we add the yeah for hyelon, and then the yeah at the end on gye, just to make it easier to say. So then if we then like reverse translate it back in English, that literal translation goes to like farenda. So it was kind of a bit more a puzzle for the solvers like AV and Shooflypie and such to like get words like farenda and be like, the hell is that? Just like realize that they were being given some garbage syllables here and there. So yeah, back to yim yeah. There's no real reason to put a yeah on the end of that word, because yim is easy to say, and there's like other like conjugation reasons where like the next word starts with a Y, so you might start with a weird letter, so you just add a throwaway like to make the transition into the next word make sense. Yeah, there's different reasons, but yeah, I mean, Pargan clearly knew that it shouldn't be there and just put it there to of becomes of a instead, and that's kind of okay. Of a piece, it's like of a piece. It's a little more grandiose and like dramatic to pronounce it like that,
Maybe that's their
so pretty cool.
Unique dialect, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's just Pargan's dialect, exactly.
Man, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. This was really cool. Big shout out to everybody who put in so much hard work figuring out this language and writing some great poems, like especially that last one. Like, even the English translation was very, very nice. Thank you so much, Kevin, for coming on and doing this with us, man. I'm a big fan, like I was talking about earlier, of a lot of the projects you guys have worked on. Looking forward to Tunic. One thing, before I let you go, I just wanted to compliment you on, like, I think it's really fascinating in Tooth and Tail, and I think Darkest Dungeon does this as well, where the music like dynamically changes based on what's happening in the game. Like that must have been a real pain to kind of program and produce and line up, right? I mean, I think that's pretty unique, that what your studio does.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of Austin too. I mean so Power Up Audio, like as a studio, we handle sound and music and voiceover, and we'll kind of do whatever of the above is needed to help on a project, right? We just fill in gaps in production. And so in the case of a game like Tooth and Tail, Austin Wintry was already slated to work on the project, and Austin's a good friend of mine, so I was like, heck yeah, this is gonna be awesome. It's always fun to be able to collaborate with folks that you know from around the industry, you know. And so he's a big fan of making these crazy dynamic, like kind of building block music scores where it swaps over and changes and things fade in and so forth. And so he basically gave me all these parts and then gave me a document that was like, here's how it should work. And I had to go into Fmod Studio, which is our kind of audio playback tool in the game, and set it all up and say, hopefully this works. And then of course work with Andy with shots to dictate kind of the logic and be like, well, here's like a parameter that says, you know, it's like a tier parameter and it goes from 0 to 2, like for tier 1, 2, and 3. And it gets knocked up a notch every time you build like the next, like as soon as you build a tier 1 or a tier 2 structure, then you'll never hear tier 1 music again in the game. So during battle and stuff, it'll change based on how intense it probably is, based on how far into the game you probably are. So it's kind of just making like small predictions based on the current state of the game and what a battle, like how intense a battle probably is. Like watching that thing with all the falcons and the owl and stuff and that replay before I came on the call here, like that was clearly a pretty intense battle because there is an owl present at all, you know. Like
right.
If there's an owl present, they've been playing for a little while, you know.
Yeah.
So we can be a little more intense. Yeah. Whereas like a little skirmish between like some toads and some squirrels, like who cares? It's over in 5 seconds, you know. So yeah, it's definitely it's a lot of work back and forth, a lot of collaborative effort. Darkest Dungeon, same thing with Stuart Chatwood. I mean, he killed it on the music, and there's a lot of just talking back and forth and saying like, how should this work, and let's figure it out, you know. But I mean, we're also, I want to be very clear, like we're very privileged at our studio to like have worked with these teams that give us such freedom. I mean, Andy Schatz just trusted us and was like, what do you think? And I was like, here's a crazy language thing. And he's like, all right, let's do it. And we did it, and it turned out great. And similarly with Darkest Dungeon, I mean, if you played Darkest Dungeon, sounds like you have plenty, Delthius.
Yeah.
There's the siren boss fight in the cove.
Right.
And she's this grotesque, but she has this one ability called Siren Song. Sorry, Song of Desire. And Song of Desire, like, it kind of briefly morphs her into this like beautiful, you know, stunning goddess. And you're like, oh, my queen. And she brings one of your characters to her side to fight for her, right? Mm-hmm. And in that case, the idea that the visuals are being messed with for these heroes, we thought like, oh, why not the audio also? So when she does that, we fade in this like vocal track of like this beautiful singing that is in tune with the music and is always playing, but it sort of reveals it whenever she does that ability. And we did that entirely within Fmod and didn't even tell the development team. And we just recorded the vocalist, put it all in. And then next morning we're like, all right, hey, Red Hook, the dev team, we're like, hey, go do the siren fight and tell us what you think. And they're like, oh, killer. So yeah, the dynamic stuff is great, but more importantly, we're working with teams who are game to do it, you know? So yeah, it's been pretty awesome so far, man. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah, one of my favorite, I hope I'm saying his name right, but Danny Baranowski, the guy who did the music for Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Yep.
I think it's no surprise, but the opera singer in Crypt of the Necrodancer, man, like that is so awesome. Was that?
That's all him, man. Yeah. Entirely. We had a brief moment. So the shopkeeper used to go like, oh, yeah, kick it, ooh, like every second beat instead, yeah. And then Danny came along and was like, I have a new idea, and we're like, all right, so we're doing this instead, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, the shopkeepers, it worked out pretty well. Yeah, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, it's always really cool when you see games that are really stylized and defined by the music and sound. I think back to like old school, like think of like Final Fantasy 1 on NES, you know what I mean? Where back in that day, like they didn't have to do that, you know, they had this huge score for an NES game where most other NES games had like a 15-second loop, and that was it, you know what I mean? So things like that can really polish a title.
Totally. And again, that gets into the further you go down that rabbit hole of polish, the further you get, or the closer you get to that whole idea of content for no one, you know?
Right.
when you make something and no one's going to care, or no one will acknowledge that all that hard work you put in. But I love it, man. I mean, the big thing about content for no one is that it creates conversations. You know, someone like, I mean, there's a freaking Vyeshal University channel room on the Tooth and Tail Discord, right?
Right.
Like the fact that it existed and made, and people were like, oh my God, have you heard about this thing? Like there's a language in here, and it leads to people, like I'm sure AV has told more than one person about this language. And that's kind of the point, is that you make this thing that speaks to a certain kind of person, and then leaves them being like, all right, I'm going to tell everyone I know about this, you know? So it's there's a lot of examples of that throughout gaming history, and I think it's a good move. I think it just makes it makes games special, you know? Absolutely.
Where can people keep up with you, Kevin?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, where can people keep up with you? Do you do any, I think Shoefly is talking about a stream you do?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, thanks, Shoefly in the chat. Yeah, so we do, we're on a brief hiatus until the new year. Took a little time off because I'm just tired and busy.
I feel you.
But we do a stream every Thursday at 4 p.m. PST. It's called Real Talk, as Shoof has said in the chat there. And we look at game audio demo reels that have been submitted by up-and-coming game audio professionals, like students and amateurs and enthusiasts and such, who want to get a little more traction going in their career and doing game sound. So it's myself and various... It has been Matthew Martinson at Clay Entertainment as well, who did like Mark of the Ninja and Don't Starve in these games. And I think in the new year, it's going to be mostly just me, and with various guest hosts from around the industry kind of tuning in to give their opinion. So in the past, we've had, like the audio director at CD Projekt Red, and the audio director on like Ken Levine's new project at Ghost Story, and like Ariel Gross, who did Saints Row. We had on Austin Wintry. We had on like Adam Gubman, who's done like 500 games, and yeah, so it's been a lot of folks who know what they're talking about and just tearing apart reels and saying, here's why it sucks and here's how you can get better. So yeah, it's pretty fun. I like it a lot.
That's great, man. That's definitely valuable for an up-and-comer to be able to get that kind of feedback from professionals, man. Really cool. AV, any final thoughts on the poetry contest?
Oh, man, it's... this is so crazy. Like, the fact... I told my girlfriend, who's like a lawyer in BC, just like a lawyer at the Supreme Court, has no connection to games. I'm like, yeah, so that crazy language I made, there's a poetry contest for it. I got to recite the winner. She's like, what the hell? Okay, great. So, yeah, it's definitely pretty crazy. Like I told some friends about this, and they're all pretty blown away. At a Christmas party last night, having some drinks, and I was like, I gotta take it easy, guys. I'm doing a Vyeshal poetry reading tomorrow morning. So it's pretty crazy. It's blown me away. Thank you so much. Like all the people who took time to write, like A, learn it, and B, again, like claim it for their own and sculpt it to their will. It really means a lot. It's crazy. It's why I do it, you know? So thanks so much.
Yeah, big shout out to Illuminatus, man, for organizing this. Dude, you guys are awesome. That's it, man. You guys are off the hook. I mean, you're welcome to hang out with me and talk about some Tooth and Tail. But again, thank you so much, Kevin, for coming onto the stream and doing this for us. Community really appreciates it, and Tooth and Tail's got such a fun, cool community. So I definitely want to thank you on behalf of everybody else, for taking the time out of your day and hanging out with us nerds to talk about your language.
Nice. And no problem. I'm happy to be here. Happy I could help out, you know. And I'll hang in the chat for a while as well. So if anyone has like any questions about anything at all, I'll just be hanging out. So feel free to ask.
Sweet. Okay. I'm gonna close the stream for probably like 5 minutes and let my internet reset because I am still dropping frames. So probably like a 5 or 10 minute stream break, while I reset my internet, and then we'll get back to it and cast some more games. So thank you guys so much, AB and Kevin. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot. See you
Thanks
around.
for hosting.
Yeah, take care. All right, that was a lot of fun. Let me... Okay, yeah, I'm looking in my OBS, guys, and I'm still dropping frames. So I'm gonna go ahead and just end the stream for about 5 or 10 minutes, reset my modem, and hopefully that'll fix it. That was a lot of fun, man. There's some really cool poems, so thanks everybody who was involved with that. So yeah, quick break, guys, and we will be right back, hopefully without dropping frames. And we got like 9 more replays to do, so we'll be at it for a while. So don't go anywhere. Be back in just a few minutes.